Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie.
And I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
Thanks for tuning in once again. Not much action over the weekend, but in this episode's toe-to-toe segment, Mike and I will list the 5 PBC Breakout Candidates for 2023. So let's jump right into the show. Our guest is the current WBA 140-pound world champion, part of the wave of Dominican champs sweeping the sport, the undefeated Alberto Puello. First question is, Alberto, how are you feeling now that you are a world champion?
Me siento muy bien, gracias al Señor y gracias a mi promotora Chuan Boxing por llevar mi carrera. Me siento excelente, es un sueño que anhelaba cumplir y gracias al Señor lo cumplí.
I'm in seventh heaven right now. I thank God that I want to thank God that I'm in this position. It's something that I have been chasing for a long time, and I'm thankful to be a world champion at the moment.
You survived a very tough contest with Bouhairie Akhmedov to become the new WBA 140-pound world champion. Akhmedov brought a lot of pressure. What was that like for you?
Bueno, fue una experiencia bastante difícil, ya que nunca me hubiesen metido una presión tal cual como la metió Akhmedov, pero la clave para enfrentar y salir de esa situación fueron los entrenamientos, ya que estaba bien preparado. Los entrenamientos fueron la clave para poder soportar la embestida y la presión de Akhmedov.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It was the toughest challenge I've ever faced. I never had to endure such a degree of pressure from an opponent before. But the key was that I relied on my training, my preparation, my fundamentals, and that way I was able to get out of the woods and overcome that pressure that Akhmedov presented.
Alberto, overall, what did you take away from the fight? What did you learn from that fight?
La lección principal fue lo que aprendí en realidad fue que nunca en la vida puedes estar negativo, ya que te puede ver en situaciones malas como en la que me vi yo con la presión de Akhmedov, pero todo el tiempo mi mente estuvo positiva y al mantener ese positivismo mental fue lo que también me llevó a obtener la victoria.
I learned the value of positive thinking. The fact that you have to always try to think on the positive side of things and not be negative. The fact that I was optimistic throughout the fight allowed me to get through it and come out on the other end in a much better way than I would have otherwise.
Got it. How much does it mean to you to become the first Dominican 140-pound world champion?
Bueno, para mí es más que un orgullo, tanto como para mi familia y para mi promotora Chuan Boxing, que es un logro grande. De ahora en adelante, mis hijos y los hijos de mis hijos tendrán siempre presente que yo he sido el primer campeón mundial en 140 libras del país, así que es algo imborrable.
It's a big source of pride. I have to thank my coaches and everyone that's surrounding me for getting me to where I am. And I'll tell you this, what I have accomplished, everything that has happened to me as a world champion, you can't erase that. It's etched in history forever.
How much of a role has your trainer Bob Santos played in getting you to this world championship level?
Bueno, Bob Santos ha sido muy importante, tomó un papel muy importante en lo que ha sido en mi preparación anterior y va a seguir tomándolo, ya que Bob Santos es un hombre que siempre en todas las situaciones se mantiene positivo y es algo que me ha enseñado a mí y a mis demás compañeros. Estar positivo en todo momento es una clave para obtener el triunfo, no importa por lo mal momento que estés pasando.
He has been vital. Bob has been really important for me, and he will continue to be really important for me going forward. And like I mentioned before, the biggest contribution that he had was teaching me the value of positive thinking and staying positive throughout, no matter how much adversity you might face.
That's good advice. That's real good advice. We've seen a surge, not just in Dominican boxers, but now so many Dominican world champions. Can you tell us how this has happened? Was there a change in the amateur program? How is it that we've gotten so many talented Dominican boxers now compared to, previous eras?
Bueno, la clave es que en estos momentos nos están dando un poco más de oportunidad de lo que se llama al boxeo dominicano para que entremos a donde todo el mundo nos pueda ver. Dominicana siempre ha tenido talento. Lo que no ha tenido es oportunidad. Y en este momento le están dando un poco de oportunidad y los dominicanos estamos sabiendo aprovechar la oportunidad como ya se puede ver.
It's pretty simple, actually. Opportunity meets talent. We always had the talent pipeline for Dominican boxing to be successful, but what we were lacking was the opportunity. Now that we do have that chance to prove our worth, we're maximizing it, and you're seeing the results of that opportunity being seized to the fullest.
Following up on that question, so we know how popular baseball is in the Dominican Republic. Is boxing becoming more popular with the kids and also the fans there?
Bueno, en realidad esa corona al deporte del béisbol, aquí en Dominicana no se la quita ningún deporte. En Dominicana la potencia más grande es el béisbol, pero según las estadísticas, el boxeo también está tomando parte y está dando mucho de qué hablar hoy en día.
I used to play baseball too, and then I know that when it comes to baseball, that crown is not going to be taken away by any sport, no matter how much they try. Baseball is king in the Dominican Republic, and deservedly so. But boxing is definitely making strides in the DR at the grassroots level, and I'm happy to see everybody getting more involved as well.
That's great. How amazing was it for both you and Hector Garcia to win belts on the same night?
Bueno, fue tan genial que en mi pelea con mi contrincante enfrente, yo pensaba en mi mente, wow, Héctor ganó, ahora tengo yo que ganar para ser algo para la historia. Fue el hecho de que Héctor Luis haya coronarse campeón, fue algo que a mí me dio mucha motivación y impulsó un poco más que yo salga a relucir en esa pelea y salga siendo campeón, al igual que mi compañero Héctor Luis García.
I'll tell you how awesome it was. It was so awesome that when I was fighting, in my fight after Hector did, I had my opponent right in front of me, and I couldn't help but thinking that, hey, Hector already became a world champion. I gotta do so too. So that's how amazing it was for all of us, where it was definitely in our minds, and the fact that it did happen, you can put into words how great that is.
Who are some of the Dominican fighters that we should be looking out for?
Bueno, ahí está Michel Rivera, que ya está en el ojo del huracán, como quien dicen. Está Edwin de los Santos. También está Elvis Severino. Y unos cuantos más que se me escapan algunos nombres, pero lo verán muy pronto en la televisión y verán que sí tienen bastante potencial.
Entonces, me dijiste Rivera, Severino del Santos.
Elvis Severino. Sí. Elvis Rodríguez.
Elvis Rodríguez. Okay.
Sí.
So, first of all, you have Michel Rivera, who is already in the eye of the hurricane, and we know who he is. He hasn't even been close to his ceiling yet, so watch out for him. Elvis Rodríguez, also someone that is bound to be achieving things soon enough. And Edwin de los Santos, that we saw him fight recently, He absolutely does have potential. There are names that escape me right now that off the top of my head I can't think of, but there definitely is a talent surge coming up from the Dominican Republic.
You have a very unique boxing style. How did you develop your boxing style?
Bueno, mi estilo es propio, ya que nadie se parece a nadie. Muchos pueden intentar imitar a un boxeador, pero no hay una copia exacta. Yo siempre he adquirido mi propio estilo, ya que he visto otros boxeadores y he querido hacer cosas como ellos, pero no me sale bien. Siempre he intentado llevar mi propio estilo y hasta ahora me ha resultado bastante bien. Siempre vengo innovando y haciendo las cosas mejor en cada pelea.
Well, you say yourself, each fighter is different, right? Whenever I have tried to imitate or copy something from another fighter, it has gone wrong for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my own thing because I can do what I'm comfortable doing. With each fighter, you can try to imitate, but you'll never be able to do the same thing than he does because each fighter's DNA is absolutely his own. So I realized that, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go my own way and do what I know how to do. That's the path to success.
More good advice. You mentioned that you started out playing baseball. How did you get involved in boxing?
Bueno, en realidad mi papá quería que yo sea beisbolista, pero el presupuesto para pagar mis inicios en el béisbol no alcanzaban. Lo que mi papá ganaba en su trabajo no alcanzaba más que para alimentarme a mí y a mis hermanos. Así que le dije a él que me deje mejor inicial en la carrera del boxeo, ya que en el boxeo mi entrenador Marino Minaya no me exigía una paga mensual, solo me exigía un pantalón corto, una franelita y unos tenis y a entrenar. Y cuando no había tenis, entrenar descalzo, claro. Y por eso no pude ser beisbolista.
Well, you know, my dad actually wanted me to be a pro baseball player originally, but the thing is that baseball is expensive, and in order for me to be able to play baseball, we would have had to sacrifice other things, and the budget for my dad was barely enough to feed both me and my siblings. I realized that even though I was young, and I told him, look, let me try my hand at boxing because baseball right now is not financially viable for this family. So I went into the gym, and there was this trainer that took me under his wing, and all he asked from me wasn't a monthly fee or any kind of financial help. It was just bring your t-shirt, your shorts, your sneakers, and when you don't have sneakers, you're gonna train barefoot. But that's all I asked from you, and that's how I got started.
That's a great story. Who are some of the fighters, or were there specific fighters that you looked up to, you know, as you were growing up as a boxer?
Bueno, en realidad yo nunca tuve un modelo a seguir. Yo siempre me enfoqué en mí mismo, en trabajar siempre, en salir adelante. Ya después de adulto, de ser boxeador profesional, sí miré mucho el estilo de Penel Whitaker, que en paz descanse.
Well, you know, as a kid, I didn't really look up to anybody. I was always really just focused on me. And then once I became, you know, more involved, becoming a pro and growing up, I started looking closely at the style of Penel Whitaker. May he rest in peace.
Oh, okay.
The 140-pound division is hot right now. Who are the top 5 fighters in your division?
Top 5. Bueno, el primero es Reggie Prograis, que es un boxeador muy bueno, bastante aguerrido, muy admirable.
Number 1 right now is Reggie Prograis. Like he's someone that's super talented. I admire him a lot.
También está John Taylor, que es un boxeador bastante bueno, bastante escurridizo.
Number 2, John Taylor. He's really good, and he's very slippery. That's his main attribute.
También está José Ramírez, que es un boxeador al igual también bastante aguerrido y tira muchos golpes.
Number 3, Jose Ramirez, a greedy guy, someone that will throw punches until he can't throw any punches anymore.
Bueno, ahí tenemos a Subriel Matías, que es puertorriqueño y también bastante aguerrido, muy fuerte.
Number 4, Subriel Matias, one of the toughest that I know and one of the strongest fighters I know as well.
Y número 5 está Teófimo López, que acaba de ingresar a las 140 libras y es un boxeador muy talentoso y se esperan muchas cosas buenas de él, pero no enfrentándose a mí.
And number 5, allow me to welcome Teófimo Lopez to the 140-pound division. He is someone that that has his accomplishments, someone that knows what he's doing inside the ring, and he's able to go up against anybody, be successful against anybody except me.
Te di mi top 5. El número 1, que no tiene número, soy yo. El número 1 soy yo.
While I did give you that top 5, you were wondering where I am. I am above all those 5. I'm untouchable, and none of those 5 will be able to defeat me right now.
So when do you expect to be back in the ring?
Bueno, aún estoy esperando que PBC, claro, se comunique con mi promotora, Bélgica Peña, y analicen la fecha para estar de vuelta en el ring. Desde ya mis vacaciones se acabaron, yo estoy entrenando aquí poco a poco, haciendo mis cositas y luego ingresar a mi campamento en Las Vegas.
Vacation time is over. I'm ready to go back to training camp in Las Vegas. And then whenever PBC talks to my promoter and I'm made aware of my next fight, I'll be ready to go.
So we have to ask, is there an opponent that you have in mind for your next fight?
Bueno, no tengo nombre específico, pero con el más que me quiero enfrentar es con Gervonta Davis, ya que lo he visto bastantes veces y con mi talento y mi estilo, yo sé que yo me lo puedo ganar.
I don't have any specific names in mind, but if you ask me who I want to fight, it's Gervonta Davis. I have seen him fight plenty of times, and I believe that my style and the way that I fight will be a perfect fit to go up against him and make a great spectacle.
It's an interesting matchup. What are your thoughts on Gary Antoine Russell? Is that a fight you'd be interested in?
Oh, él también me gustaría enfrentarlo a todos, sin distinción alguna. Él es un boxeador bueno, pero todos son ganables.
I would love to face him. I don't discard absolutely anybody. And Russell will be someone that will be a great opponent for me, someone that the fans will enjoy a lot, but he's definitely beatable. There is no monsters in this division or in any other that will make me think this guy is unbeatable.
Got it. So Alberto, finally, when all is said and done, what would you like to accomplish in the sport of boxing?
Mi legado en el boxeo, lo que llevo en mi mente siempre ha sido ser un duradero campeón y retirarme invicto, sin derrota alguna. Ese es mi objetivo en el boxeo y claro, aún estoy joven y pienso retirarme joven, no muy viejo, pero mi legado es retirarme estando invicto en el boxeo.
I have 2 goals in boxing going forward. The first one is to be able to defend my titles and be a champion for a long time, someone that has remained at the top and is respected for his longevity. And then number 2 is to retire undefeated. I think I'm going to end up retiring more on the younger side, on the older side of things. But that's definitely something that I want to accomplish, to have that zero in my win-loss record when all is said and done.
Alberto, thank you very, very much. All the best. Good luck to you. We'll see you soon.
Claro, muchas gracias a ustedes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Gracias.
It's time for Mike and I to go toe to toe. This week, the topic is 5 PBC breakout candidates for 2023. 5 guys we believe could break through next year. We're going to go in ascending order. So, Mike, let's kick things off.
Okay, real quick, I just wanted to preface this by saying this was really hard. We considered a bunch of guys, and there's guys I left off this list who I really think are going to have big years. So I guess that's a good thing in a way, because there's a lot of good breakout candidates. And the second thing is, we did not talk at all about who is on our list, so we'll both be surprised when we hear the other guys' choices.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5 for me, I started with Frank Martin. I think Martin might have the best natural gifts of anyone we've considered here, meaning his speed, his reflexes, his athleticism, but he also has ability, and he's only getting better and better. That's because he has a great coach in Derek James, and he's willing to put in the work. Derek has told us that he just loves this guy's dedication. He's just a gym rat. He loves it. And finally, he also has pop. Excuse me. He also has pop in his punches. I always look for that when I assess a fighter. You don't have to be a big puncher to succeed, but I definitely think it helps, and Martin has that. Martin wasn't a slam dunk for this list for me, but I think he has a lot going for him, which is sort of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I love Frank Martin. I think he is a breakout candidate, so I'm going to get to him in a second. First, I want to give honorable mentions to Gary Antoine Russell and Michelle Rivera, both guys who finished just outside my top 5, and 2 guys who are definitely 2023 breakout candidates. My number 5 is Joey Spencer. Like, this guy is still only 22 years old. An undefeated 154-pounder, 16-0, an accomplished amateur who is being developed in a thoughtful manner as a pro. Took a significant step up in class last month against Kevin Salgado, won a wide decision in a mature performance. I think in 2023, we see him take more steps in that stacked super welterweight division. I would like to see him against a Carlos Ocampo. If he can win that, let's see him in with the big boys. The Erickson Lubins, Tony Harrisons, Charles Conwell. Now, he wins a fight like that, that would be a breakout performance.
Yeah, so Spencer's not on my list, but I really like Joey Spencer. We've talked about him on past podcasts. He's got a real good fundamental foundation. He can box, strong kid, physically strong guy. But the thing I like best that stands out to me now is his, you use the word mature, is that his maturation. He just seems to get better and better and better every time I see him. And he looked really good in that fight that you mentioned. So yeah, I think he's on the verge of doing some special things. I'm not sure his time will come in 23. It could be 24, but he's coming. He's getting there. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're right. He's only 22 years old. There's plenty of time. I'll move to my number 4, Frank Sanchez, undefeated heavyweight, coming off a 9th round TKO win over Carlos Negron. That was just a couple weeks ago on the Deontay Wilder Robert Helenius pay-per-view. Sanchez is a traditional Cuban boxer, but against Negreanu, he was more flat-footed, more aggressive. I think moving forward, he'll have to strike the right balance between the two styles, but he's well positioned. And at 30 years old, he's going to be looking to make his move in 2023. He's rated number 3 at heavyweight by both the WBC and the WBO, number 8 by the IBF. So he's within striking distance of a title shot. I'd like to see him take on a Charles Martin, maybe even a Luis Ortiz later in the year. And if he wins those kind of bouts, that would truly make for a breakout 2023.
Yes, he's another guy I consider, but you mentioned why he didn't make my list, and I'm basing this largely on his last fight. To me, he doesn't seem to know exactly who he is yet, what style that he wants to use. Having said that, the talent certainly is there. He's another guy that has that foundation, just tons of natural ability too. So yeah, I think he's probably on his way to doing great things. I just want to see you guys more settled into who he is before I put him on a list like this.
Yeah, that's fair. Who you got at number 4?
Okay, so I'm rolling the dice a little bit on this guy, Carlos Adames. I really went back and forth on him because he lost to Patrick Teixeira not that long ago, but I decided to go with my gut. This is largely based on his last two fights. He narrowly outpointed Sergey Derevyanchenko, which was a breakthrough for him. We all have a lot of respect for Derevyanchenko. And then in his last fight, he just blew out a normally tough guy in Juan Macias Montiel in 3 rounds. I saw a super quick, athletic, skillful guy with punching power, and he's super, super dynamic, which is exciting to me. Montiel really just didn't know what hit him in that fight. So why did he lose to Teixeira? I don't think he was prepared for that fight. He gassed out in the second half of the fight.
I agree.
I don't believe he's going to let that happen again. So I think Adames could accomplish some real big things.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Adames is someone I strongly consider it as well. I think obviously he's on the verge. He's got a tall task though. If he's got to go through Jamal Charlo, that might have been what gave me some pause. But I think he showed against Montiel that look, he's a damn good fighter in his own right. I think he was not prepared for that Teixeira fight. I mean, I think he wipes the mat with Teixeira if they were to fight now, and he's a great candidate. Who you got for number 3?
So number 3 for me is what I considered to myself to be sort of an interesting choice, Tim Tszyu. I'm including Tszyu, but because I've liked what I've seen from him. But his fate is going to be in his own hands early next year when he's expected to face the aforementioned Jermell Charlo, the undisputed 154-pound champ. If he wins that fight, he's on top of the world, obviously. If he loses, then we'd have to wait for him to get another chance to prove himself. But at this very moment, I just see a talented, super intense guy with an edge that I love, with the strong bloodline, who's beaten some solid guys, and I think is just destined for some special things, maybe regardless of what happens against Jermell Charlo. But we will know a lot more when he fights the best 154-pounder in a few months.
Yeah, absolutely. And he, like Adames, has a really tough task in front of him. Going up against Jermell Charlo, who has a case to be the best fighter in the world, that is one tall task.
Yep.
But I tell you what, they make great candidates for this list, because if either Adames or Tszyu were to win their fights, breakout would be an understatement, right?
Right, exactly.
That would be immense. So I'm with you, and I can't wait to see what these guys do when they step up to that level. My number 3 is someone you mentioned, unbeaten lightweight contender Frank Martin, aka the Ghost. Every time I see an IG post or story from Martin, he's in the gym. 24/7 sparring, shadow boxing on the treadmill, the heavy bag, nonstop. He and obviously trainer Derek James. He's in Derek James's gym all the time. Martin just stays working. He's 27 years old, 16-0. He has really come on over the last year or two, and I believe he's ready to strike. There's been a lot of talks of a fight versus Chris Colbert. Hey, I'd love to see it at some point in 2023. Maybe a Rolly Romero, Michelle Rivera, Isa Cruz. The 135-pound division is full of names, intriguing matchups, and I fully expect Frank Martin to be in the mix and to shine when it's his turn.
Yeah, I think we both already talked about this, but if he doesn't make it somehow, it won't be for lack of putting in the work, because he definitely puts
for sure.
Yeah. He's got that side down. He's got the natural gifts. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all comes together, but it looks good.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to number 2. I'll kick this one off. My number 2 is unbeaten super welterweight contender Jesus Ramos. He's the youngest guy on my list at 21 years old. Ramos, he's been stepping it up over the past couple of years. We last saw him in May. He toughed out a 10-round unanimous decision over a crafty Luke Santa Maria. Those are the kind of fights that are going to prepare Ramos for the next level. We saw what he did earlier this year when he stopped Vladimir Hernandez in a explosive performance. This kid is savvy beyond his years and built to have a long career at the top. Will he take that next step in 2023? We shall see.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, including what you said about his last fight, sort of having to gut it out a little bit, show that side of himself. That's part of the learning process. I guess the only reason that I didn't, put him in my top 5 is because of his age. He's still so young. He's just going to continue to get better and better and better. But he's another guy that he almost seems like can't miss, but some people do miss. So we'll just see what happens.
Who's your number 2?
So you mentioned him earlier as one of your honorable mentions, Gary Antoine Russell. To me, Russell is a complete fighter. You know, he could box, he has power, he fights with controlled aggression, which makes him entertaining. He comes from a fighting family. He's a younger brother of Gary Russell Jr. That to me, so far, that's added up to something special. And he's already passed some tests by stopping Victor Postol and Rancis Barthelemy. Both of whom are talented, experienced opponents. You can't say that for some of the guys that we've talked about. He already has beaten solid, experienced guys. I don't know how he's going to do when he takes the next step up. But I just won't be surprised if he continues to win. I just don't see the glaring flaw.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, he's got great bloodlines. He's athletic. He's powerful. He's in shape. He's determined. He's looked good in his step-up fights. That's a great choice, and I think now is his time. If he fights Alberto Puello, like we discussed earlier, the winner of that, is certainly a potential breakout star.
Yeah, that would be his fight to prove what he can do, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so who you got for number 1?
All right, so number 1 for me was, maybe we have the same number 1, David Morrell. Morrell learned the ropes in the Cuban amateur system, which means, that he has a terrific fundamental foundation. The guy can box, as well as anybody that we've considered for this toe-to-toe. On top of that, he seems to have unusual punching power, which is almost like a bonus in his case. I mean, the dude can crack. And he also seems to be dedicated. A Cuban who moves his base to Minneapolis, he doesn't do that unless he's serious about what he's doing. He moved away from everything he knows, everyone he knows, to focus 100% on his boxing career. To me, that says something about the guy. So I expect that combination, his ability, his power, his dedication, to take him a long way. I did slightly hesitate to include him here because he's had only 7 pro fights, but my gut says that this guy has a bright future, which is why he's on top of the list.
Yeah, I agree with you. He did not make my list, however. I still think he's another year away from breaking out. He's accomplished already so much in 7 fights that he's sort of caught in no man's land for me. He's already got a portion of the WBA title at 168, but I don't know if he's ready to jump into those elite guys just yet. He may be. I mean, he certainly looks the part. My number 1 is Subriel Matias. He's a 30-year-old smooth killer out of Puerto Rico, has an array of skills, loves to take risks, and in my opinion is one of the most exciting and dangerous fighters at 140 pounds today. He's 18-1. All 18 wins have come inside the distance, and he's my number 1 because he's in line to fight for a world title in his next bout. He's currently ranked number 2 by the IBF. That belt is vacant. So he has dibs on the next available shot, most likely against the number 1, Jeremias Ponce. If that fight does happen, it's a dangerous one for both guys. But if Matias wins, the possibilities they're just endless in a division that, the 140-pound division, it is stacked and surrounded by elite talent.
Yeah, Matias I guess he would be number 6 on my list. And he's one of those guys that I'm like, how can I leave him off my list? He was really hard. On some level, this is almost like random because, we considered so many guys and we could mix them up in various ways depending on the day. So, yeah, Matias, you almost say has to be on the list, but he just didn't quite make mine. I love this guy. The thing that everything you said is obviously accurate, but the thing that stands out to me is the dude is just a beast. I mean, I just love his style, the way he attacks, and maybe a little bit like Isaac Cruz, just goes after his opponents and takes no prisoners. I just absolutely love that. And he's got ability to go with that. So I think that combination could take this guy a long, long way. But to me, again, the thing that stands out, he's just so much fun to watch, which is really what this whole thing is about when it comes down to it, for the fans.
Yeah, and if he gets Ponce, we'll see if he breaks out or not. I mean, we're going to find out sooner or later on a lot of the guys on this list. 2023, obviously, a critical year for a lot of fighters. And that is going to do it for this week's show. We want to thank Alberto Puello for joining us. And, of course, we want to thank you all for listening. Be sure to check us out next week for more boxing talk, more interviews right here on the PBC Podcast.